Today we're going to move right from Psalm 6 into Psalm 7. And I've been meditating and considering this psalm for several days. It's an interesting psalm, and we're just going to introduce it today, and then we will begin reading it and thinking through it in the coming days or in the coming week. So Psalm 7, the title is a Shiggaion of David, which he sang unto the Lord concerning the words of Cush the Benjamite. So Shiggaion probably means poem, which he sang. So David wrote this psalm, and he wrote it to the Lord concerning a man named Cush. Now, we don't know a lot about the man Cush, but we know he's a Benjamite, which is a man of the tribe of Benjamin. Saul was also of the tribe of Benjamin. And a lot of Saul's on his world of leaders, his co-leaders, his cabinet leaders, his officials would have been from the tribe of Benjamin. This psalm unfolds. You'll see the context that David has been falsely accused. There's rumors. There's something being circulated about David, and we do know this, and this is likely the history. Some commentaries will say we don't know anything about this man. I like Warren Wiersbe's approach. He basically takes the educated guess that Cush is one of Saul's officials, and that when Saul begins to grow jealous of David, see, God has anointed. Now we're going way back in time now. Remember, we were looking at David's later life with Absalom, and sometime soon I really want to do a study of the life of David. But going back to the beginning, David, was in Saul's house playing and singing and ministering, and God had anointed him as the next king, but that was not a publicly known thing. And then when David killed Goliath, Saul began to struggle with the rising prominence of David, the notoriety. He began to envy, and Saul's pride and arrogance and jealousy began to take over. And if you know the story, there were a number of occasions where Saul tried to kill David. David had to run for his life. David spent long periods of time in exile, fleeing, looking for refuge to stay alive from Saul. He had an opportunity or two to kill Saul, but he didn't take it. He was very patient as a young man to let God unfold the journey and to let God be providential and sovereign in his circumstances. If and when he became king, he wanted it to be God elevating him, not him conducting some kind of hostile takeover or coup. He didn't want that kind of accusation. David was incredibly wise to pursue the Lord in those days. Well, Saul used his servants and his officers to spy on David, and he appointed them responsibility to spy on David. Well, these men that served with Saul were eager to please Saul and eager to, be elevated in Saul's kingdom. And so it was not uncommon that they didn't find anything against David. David wasn't sinning. He wasn't plotting. He wasn't planning anything. But they would make it up to make Saul happy. Saul wanted dirt. They would find dirt. They would make up dirt. And apparently this man Cush delivered Saul some dirt on David that was not true. It was a false accusation, but Saul believed it. And that gave Saul reason to pursue and to falsely accuse and to slander David. And so David's testimony that up to this point in his life, he's really guarded and protected, and he's been careful, and he's been faithful and noble and ethical, and he's the man of integrity. Now it's all being trashed. And so at some point, David sits down, and like we've seen him do with all of his struggles and his trials and his hardship, David's answer for every problem was, I need to go to God. I need to go to God. And no matter how he felt, no matter what he was thinking, he never trusted his flesh. Well, can't say he never trusted his flesh. He failed, but David's habit with his human experience, his emotions, his spirit, his soul, the struggles of life, His habit was to go to God because he knew God was the ultimate source of truth, the ultimate hope for his heart, the ultimate grounding of his life and his sanity and his protection, his deliverance. He knew God was the ultimate source of wisdom and understanding. He knew only God could give him clarity, could heal him, could bring him out, could bring him through. Only God could give him a good night's sleep. He just really put all of his hope in God. And so that's what he does here. And as we wrap up today, I just want to read this psalm with you. It is 17 verses. And it's David pouring out his soul to God in a moment where he has been unjustly accused, where somebody is spinning lies and false narratives about him. Have you ever had that happen to you? I know I have. And it is a little bit infuriating and a lot of bit psychologically manipulative. I mean, when somebody is telling stories about you that are not true, if you're not careful, you can get consumed with it, and you want to correct the narrative. You want to call everybody that heard the false narrative and tell them the other story. You want to do everything you can to right the record. But sometimes God in his providence allows a situation to unfold where you can't. You can't change the storyline. You can't correct the record, and you can't get to everybody that heard the false narrative. And in that moment, you have to do what David is doing. You have to trust God. You have to wait on God. And you have to let time do its work. And years, sometimes a decade or more, will tell the true story. And you have to trust that God will manage the narrative about your life that he wants out there. And you continue to hold on to God through it. And that's what David is doing. O Lord, my God, in thee do I put my trust. Save me from all them that persecute me, and deliver me, lest he tear my soul like a lion. What a picture. David says, this is tearing my soul. This is shredding me inside, rending it in pieces, while there is none to deliver. O Lord, my God. Now, by the way, verse 2 is his opening cry. Verses 3 through 5 are his basically surrender. If I've done this, then let me have justice. O Lord my God, if I have done this, if there be iniquity in my hands, if I have rewarded unto him evil unto him that was at peace with me, yea, I have delivered him without cause. I'm sorry, I keep messing this up. Yea, I have delivered him that without cause is mine enemy. Let the enemy persecute my soul and take it. Yea, let him tread down my life upon the earth and lay mine honor in the dust. Selah. Now verse 6 brings us to part 3 of this psalm. Arise, O Lord, in thine anger, lift up thyself because of the rage of mine enemies, and awake from me to the judgment that thou hast commanded. So shall the congregation of the people compass thee about for their sakes. Therefore, return thou on high. The Lord shall judge the people. Judge me, O Lord, according to my righteousness, according to mine integrity that is in me. O let the wickedness of the wicked come to an end, but establish the just. For the righteous God trieth the hearts and reigns. Now we come to part 4 of the psalm. My defense is of God, which saveth the upright in heart. God judgeth the righteous, and God is angry with the wicked every day. If he turn not, he will whet his sword. He hath bent his bow and made it ready. He hath also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordaineth his arrows against the persecutors. Behold, he travaileth with iniquity, and hath conceived mischief, and brought forth falsehood. He made a pit and digged it, and is fallen into the ditch which he made. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come down upon his own pate. I will praise the Lord according to his righteousness, and I will sing praise to the name of the Lord Most High. This is a great psalm. We're going to have a good journey the next few days it raises a lot of questions. And I don't know if you caught this, but I was really self-disciplined in not stopping and commenting a lot as we read that psalm. I wanted to. A lot of questions come to mind. Who is he? He talks about he multiple times in this, and it seems to switch back and forth. We'll break that down. David seems to be uncharacteristically appealing his own righteousness and his own integrity. We've talked about that because David knows he isn't righteous. So now what is this all about? Where does this come from, and why does this matter? What is David really doing here? There's a lot to journey ahead. We'll get into it. I want to land right here, but in big picture, this is David recognizing he can't fix the narrative. He can't correct the storyline. All he can do is wait on God and trust God and know that God is righteous and that God's going to write the record. And sometimes, my friend, that's enough. And I love where David lands. He just says, I will praise the Lord. I will sing. It's almost like he says, I can't do anything, so I guess I'll write a song. I guess I'll just go on living, choosing joy, singing and worshiping the Lord. And maybe that's good news for you. Maybe that's good advice for you today. Maybe there's a problem in your life that you can't fix right now. Maybe you can't fix it all, can't align it all, can't bring reconciliation, can't put it all back together. But you know what you can do? You can pick your favorite song, take a long walk, and sing. And that'll probably make you feel a lot better. Happy Wednesday, my friends. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you tomorrow.